Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast. This is your escape for real, unscripted conversations about sports, hobbies, life, and storytelling. No scripts, no forced takes, just Man Cave talk. Now, here's your host, Dan Kasper.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Man Cave Podcast. I'm your host, Dan, as always. Appreciate you tuning in and hanging out with us on this episode of the Man Cave Podcast. Don't forget, as always, if you could, just take a few seconds, 5-star rating on Spotify, 5-star rating on Apple. Click that subscribe, like, follow, whatever it is, that bell, ring the bell. There you go. That's the phrase they use on YouTube, right? If you want to check out the video version of the podcast. But we could really use your support to help spread the good word, the good gospel of the Man Cave, right? Well, hey, on this episode of the Man Cave Podcast, because while we're recording this, it is the first day of on-field workouts at the NFL Combine. Are you feeling jacked? You feeling pumped? It's the Underwear Olympics, man. They're here. And such. But that's also kind of the Combine week, as we were talking about it in a previous episode of the podcast. It's also, I tend to think it gets overrated in some aspects. I know, dare I say that? How dare I say that? But I think it is important in other aspects too, where, it's valuable for teams and agents to talk and obviously for teams to check medicals and interview their new prospects and such. But with NFL free agency in the offseason, the new year about to begin here in less than 2 weeks, about 2 weeks, this is where a lot of that framework for those discussions, for trades, for free agents, a lot of that stuff kind of starts right now. And I think one of the most intriguing things to watch this NFL offseason is going to be the quarterbacks, because you've got, I would say, 9 teams that could have different starting quarterbacks week 1 compared to this previous season. And you factor in that there really isn't like an all-pro that's available as a free agent. Yes, a quarterback's going to be taken number 1 overall. Questions about whether he's a franchise quarterback. Talk about Mendoza from Indiana. And then after that, depending on, some of the mock drafts, there might not be another quarterback taken in the first round of the draft. So the draft really isn't, quarterback, not a lot of depth when it comes to the quarterback. So that's what makes this offseason really fascinating and intriguing. I think there's some teams, too, that if they don't get this quarterback pick right, or their decision when it comes to the quarterback, they're going to be out of a job. So it is going to be crazy. It's going to be interesting, and I'm excited to see how it all kind of plays out. Now, there's a lot of teams, too, that they don't have to worry about their quarterback, right? There's a majority they don't have to worry about it. You're looking at, like, your Seattle, your Rams, your 49ers, your Packers, your Bears, your Lions, Saints even. I would say that they're good going into this year. Panthers, Falcons, I'm assuming Michael Penix Jr., they're still going to roll with him. Bucks, Giants, Commanders, Cowboys, Eagles, Chargers, Broncos, Bengals, Ravens, Texans, Jaguars, Titans, Patriots, Bills. They're all good. They're set. It's these 9 teams that you could see a different quarterback leading the way. We're talking about the Cardinals. We're talking about maybe the Vikings. We're going to get to that here in a second. Raiders, I think we all know who it's probably going to be. Steelers, potentially. Browns, Colts, Dolphins, Jets, and I'm including this team in it because of the injury. It's not a long-term one, but it could be a different start at week 1 starting quarterback. I'm throwing the Chiefs in here just because I know there's a lot of positive stuff being said about Patrick Mahomes, but for this, for argument's sake, we're going to say he's not going to be ready for week 1. All right? So, with that, I thought for this episode of the Man Cave Podcast, I would make my predictions on who the week 1 starting quarterbacks are going to be for these 9 teams, or who the new quarterbacks, or who, what, or maybe a different way to kind of look at it is going to be what quarterbacks are these teams going to be bringing in to compete for that starting job in week 1? So, because you got some different ones. You've got like teams that desperately need a quarterback. You've got teams that their starters are hurt, but they may need a temporary starter. And then you got teams that might say, we just need a veteran to come in and maybe help mold our future starter. It's different reasons why these teams may need a quarterback. So I'm going to start off with kind of maybe the most obvious ones. Raiders, it's Mendoza. That's going to be their first pick. Maybe Geno Smith is gone, and I still think if Geno Smith's gone, they have to bring in a veteran to back him up. That's something that they're going to have to look at. And there's options out there for sure. But if you do bring in Mendoza, and let's say Geno Smith is gone from the Raiders, you got to bring in a veteran quarterback to help mold Mendoza, maybe even start the season. I don't think you rush Mendoza right away, especially if you're a team that has a lot of holes that you're trying to plug in here. But Mendoza, he's the first overall pick in this draft. That's an easy one. The next one I'm going to say is the Colts here. Daniel Jones is going to sign a contract with the Colts, and he's going to stay with the Colts. However, it is up in the air whether he is going to be ready for week 1. And again, we're going to assume that he's not. So you got a team that was really good to begin the year last year, and then the Daniel Jones injury derailed it, right? So who are they going to bring in? And maybe Shane Steichen's kind of a little bit on the hot seat here entering this year. Like if they don't get to the postseason, could he be on the way out? I think this is my prediction, and I forgot to say this at the beginning. I am, for a lot of these, I'm not going to go with some of the most obvious picks that if you Google, you read all the articles, it's like, okay, that one makes sense. That one makes sense. I got some bold prediction in this because why not? It's spicy. It's more fun with some of these picks. But with this case, I think they bring back the quarterback that helped them go to the playoffs a couple years ago, Gardner Minshew. Bring back Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew played well under Shane Steichen when he was with the Colts. Bring him back as your temporary starter. You still have Anthony Richardson on the roster too. You would think that would be an option. He is a former, first-round pick. So you're covered that way in essence too. So, but in terms of bringing in another quarterback or a different quarterback that's not on the roster, I think they figure out a deal with Daniel Jones, but Gardner Minshew or maybe Anthony Richardson is going to be starting week 1 for the Colts for that. Steelers, I think it's Aaron Rodgers. I think he comes back, plays under Mike McCarthy for one more year. I don't see them necessarily going out there and, finding a younger quarterback. If Aaron comes back, I don't necessarily see them going out there and bringing in another quarterback. I think, let's see what they have with Will Howard. Otherwise, maybe they go into the draft next year trying to find that quarterback. I think ideally Mike McCarthy probably would like to have that younger quarterback on his roster right now so he has a little bit more time to work with him instead of, maybe drafting a rookie next year and then throwing him into the fire right away. I think he'd rather have a little bit more of an experienced or established quarterback at that standpoint, but maybe that's a Ty Simpson type of pick or whatever. But I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers coming back to the Steelers this year. And going for it for one more year with his old ball coach, Mike McCarthy. So, all right, that's the Raiders, the Steelers, the Colts, the Browns. Now, there's a lot of speculation on what they're going to do. Names are being floated out all over the place. You've got Todd Monken coming over and, new head coach for the Browns. I get the Kyler Murray talk, because Todd Monken's coming over from Baltimore where he was the offensive coordinator for Lamar Jackson and such. And I know reports towards the end, it didn't really sound like it was working out the greatest. But the Browns quarterback situation is such a blankety-blank show. There's so much money attached to Deshaun Watson. Like, if they were to bring in a Kyler Murray, it would have to be on a different deal. They couldn't just trade him or trade for him and take on his contract. It would have to be cheap. That's why I feel like it's Shedeur and Deshaun Watson this year. So all the names being floated out there about whether, they're going to get this quarterback or that quarterback, I think they're so financially hamstrung with the horrible Deshaun Watson thing that they're going to roll with Shedeur, and they're going to roll with Deshaun Watson on there. I don't know which one plays, to be honest with you. I really don't at this point. Dylan Gabriel's kind of an afterthought right now, which probably isn't fair to him. But I think it's going to be between Shedeur and Deshaun Watson for the Week 1 starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. So now my picks get a little bit more spicy. A little bit more maybe of a bold take. I don't say hot take. I say bold take in this one. Before that, Dolphins, I'm going Malik Willis. There's too many dots to connect there, right? John Eric Sullivan, Packer front office executive. Jeff Hafley, Packers guy. You got Bobby Slowick Jr. Bobby Slowick Jr. is over there as the offensive coordinator. He comes from the Shanahan system that Matt LaFleur was within too. So, they can really look out a lot of the different stuff that made Malik successful in Green Bay and implement that in Miami. So it just makes a ton of sense to put Malik Willis as a starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Now we get to the spicy stuff. So that leads into, where does Tua go? Where does Tua go? How about this? I'm going to go with the Jets. You want to talk about a team that really needs to get this quarterback pick right, and they are in a huge, huge, huge bind right now. It's the Jets. They've got a couple first-round picks. They've got the second overall pick. But there is not another quarterback worthy of that pick at the second overall spot. And they are desperate for a franchise quarterback. Is that Tua? I don't know, but you look at the other options out there, they need to hit this. Frank Reich is the new offensive coordinator for the Jets. And I was looking at, okay, where did he have, or what quarterbacks did he have, experience with? A lot of them are pocket passers, okay? You look at his time as a head coach with the Colts. It was Andrew Luck. It was Jacoby Brissett. It was Phillip Rivers. It was Matt Ryan. Those guys. It was, offensive coordinator with Philly those years. Carson Wentz and such. He was at Carolina for just a hot minute. So I don't see Kirk Cousins going to that situation. I guess if Kirk Cousins just wants to play and he doesn't care about wins or anything like that, and he just wants to be a starter, that could be an option. I'm going to go with the Jets in this one just because, all right, they're going to take a flyer on Tua, going to kind of put him in that system that works for him and such, and essentially they're just going, they're going to kind of bet that Tua could kind of resurrect his career a little bit, if that makes sense, and maybe he could be their future starter for years to come. So he stays within the division, and the Jets are going to bank on that. They can finally settle on that position, on that quarterback position for at least a few years. It's a risk, though, right? It's a huge risk. And that's why I said at the beginning, this is going to be, some of these decisions are going to be job-defining decisions, right? These are going to be job-defining. If they do go get Tua and it completely fails, probably looking at another general manager and another coach here in another year or two. So I'm going to go with Tua to the Jets just because I don't see Kyler Murray. I don't see Kirk Cousins as an option over there too. Speaking of Kyler Murray, where's he going to go? Call me nuts. I think he stays with the Cardinals. I'm going to say that he stays with the Cardinals for this year. Mike LaFleur coming over. You got Nathaniel Hackett as his offensive coordinator, offensive-minded head coach. You got an experienced offensive coordinator coming in. Run it back with Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray still has something to give to a team. I think he still has talent, and he still has ability to be a starting quarterback in this league. And without any other good option, I know Jacoby Brissett is on the roster, but Kyler Murray's ceiling is still higher than Jacoby Brissett. You're bringing in a different offensive vision with this. Why not? Why not just bring it back another year for Kyler Murray? See what he could do under a LaFleur Hackett system. And if it doesn't work, okay, then you go into next year. Draft a quarterback this year, and that's your backup. I think it's Kyler Murray. You're bringing in an offensive-minded head coach and a veteran offensive coordinator that has experience with working with quarterbacks. Let's see what you could do with it, with Kyler Murray, with those guys. I want to see that. So I think it would be best suited for the Cardinals to just hold on to Kyler Murray for this year, unless some of the reports out there saying that it's a fractured relationship between him and the front office. If it isn't, and that's overblown, bring back Kyler Murray for another year. Let him ball under LaFleur and Hackett. So, who do we have left? We've got the Vikings. We've got the Chiefs. Yeah, Vikings and Chiefs left. Vikings, I think they bring in a veteran. I know the easy pick is Kirk Cousins. Everybody and their grandmother and their aunt and their uncle, they're all picking Kirk Cousins to go to Minnesota. And he very well could. It makes a ton of sense, doesn't it? Here's the thing, though. Do the Vikings want to bring back Kirk Cousins? This is a delicate situation because they need J.J. McCarthy to work. They need that pick to work. They need him to be the future starting quarterback, or they're resetting, and they need him to work rather soon here. If you bring in a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, the one thing that I would fear a little bit is, okay, you're bringing in Kirk. Yeah, that you could say there's a competition, but maybe it's already kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge that Kirk is going to be the starter this year. And could that do more damage to McCarthy than maybe help him? You could say there's competition, but it kind of looks like, yeah, Kirk's going to be the starter since he's already been there before. He's played with Justin Jefferson and such, right? He's got a leg up. I don't know if the Vikings would do that. I feel like if they bring in a veteran quarterback where, okay, it is a legit competition, and then try to get the best out of J.J. McCarthy in a legit quarterback competition. I'm going to go with Justin Fields for this one. You know, another pick was, I thought, Anthony Richardson, just because you all remember the clip with him talking to Richardson after a game and kind of is like, oh, yeah, Anthony Richardson's going to play for Kevin O'Connell at some point. But I'm going to go with Justin Fields in this one, because then you put Fields and McCarthy mano-a-mano, head-to-head, and have a legit quarterback competition. You bring in Justin Fields and you're J.J. McCarthy, you're like, okay, I got competition here, let's roll. You bring in Kirk Cousins, and you're like, oh, well, I know I'm not starting. It's a delicate situation. Not every situation works out like Carolina did with Bryce Young. Bryce Young's a starter. He doesn't play well. They bench him. And then he gets back to being the starter. And it's like he did a 180 on his career. Not every situation works that way. So that's kind of where I would roll with that one. Now, perhaps my spiciest or boldest pick, the Chiefs. Again, I am operating under the assumption that Patrick Mahomes is not going to start week 1 for the Chiefs, or for the first couple of weeks. The Chiefs are in a position, though, to win now, right? They are in a position to win now. And they need that quarterback that can step in for however long it's going to be and put them in a position to win games. My first run through this, I went with Justin Fields. But then I'm like, you know what? Kirk Cousins fits here. Hear me out. All right. And if Kirk's listening to this, hear me out. Kirk, you got all the money in the world now. You have been paid. P-A-I-D. Paid. Right? You got it. What's left? You're getting up there in age. You're at the end of your career. What is left for you in this NFL career? It's a ring. It's a Super Bowl ring. Yeah, you might play with the Jets, but you ain't going to win there. Okay? Maybe you could be, it's like, well, the Colts, maybe you start a couple games there. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with the Colts either. Sorry, you're just not. Yeah, you could go to Minnesota. Pair up with JJ again, or Justin Jefferson. Not JJ McCarthy. Justin Jefferson again. Throw over there and all that stuff. That's great too. But you're going to be kind of, looking over your shoulder because Maybe you're pressing a little bit because you know the world's waiting for J.J. McCarthy to replace you. Go to Kansas City. You know you're going to be the backup. You know eventually you're going to be replaced. If you go to Minnesota, you don't know that, and that's where you maybe press a little bit and you have a little bit of inconsistency and such. You're always looking over your shoulder. Kansas City, you know eventually you're going to get replaced when Patrick Mahomes comes. Lead them to a couple wins, a few wins to open up the season. Be that backup and put yourself in a position to win your first ring. If you've already cashed in, why not? If I'm the Chiefs, I seriously consider that. Why not? Why not go play under Andy Reid? Why not go throw to, Travis Kelce? So that's my bold one. That's my spicy one. I think that would be a good fit for both sides. So those are my match game. I called it quarterback match game, playing a little match game and such. I throw it back to you, the listeners, the viewers. Give me some of your quarterback match games. Give me some of your picks where teams or what quarterbacks are going to go where. All right? Hit me up with an email, mancavepodmail@gmail.com. And while you're emailing me, hey, send me some pics of the Man Cave. Send me some pics of your collection. Send me some awesome sports stories. Maybe you experienced. Maybe you went to a game with your son for the first time or your first game ever. I want to hear some cool sports stories. I want to hear some creepy stories too. This is what the Man Cave is all about, right? So send them on over. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/DanCasperSports, Instagram @DanCasperSports. Don't forget to follow the YouTube page, Man Cave TV, as well. And, as always, 5-star rating, positive review for the Man Cave podcast on Apple, and a 5-star rating on Spotify. All right, that's going to do it for us on this episode of the Man Cave podcast. I'm Dan Kasper, and we'll talk to you on a future episode of the Man Cave podcast.